Ladies and gentlemen,
what you gonna do, brother?
Oh yeah!
Woo! What?
If you smell what the rock...
You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man.
Welcome to another edition of Around the Turnbuckle. Professor Keith, our guest has not arrived. He is on his way, folks. He is on his way. He is having internet difficulties, but until then, Keith, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm actually excellent. Before Mr. Havock arrives, let's do this real quick. If you guys like our show, for all our past episodes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that bell, and you will get notified of the latest episodes as we put them up. You'll also get notified when we go live, and all that good stuff. Now, Keith.
Yes, sir.
An interesting thing happened today, recently in wrestling as we wait for Mr. Havoc, and that was the release of Jimmy Havoc and Bea Priestley.
I think it's just B.
B. Why do I say Bea? I always say Bea.
I don't know.
I think I dated a girl named Bea once.
Okay.
That might have been why. That's a new tick. That's a little. Don't get nervous about that. That's a little new ticker we have down there.
Well, okay. Before we get too deep into that, though, we should acknowledge, because I don't think we had acknowledged it on any of our prior episodes, the passing of Kamala last week.
Yes.
Very, very sad instance, I'm sure, for a lot of our listeners, our viewers tonight. Big part of our childhood. Hey, there he is.
What's going on, guys?
How are you, sir?
Keith, how you doing? Keith was talking about the passing of Kamala real quick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Tremendously sad. Kamala was a big part of all of our childhoods, I think. Probably inspired some people to get in the business. Wrestled for a long, long time, even before WWE. His health was not great the past few years, including a double amputation of his legs from complications with diabetes. His family is asking for donations. There's a GoFundMe, which I believe we have in the group. I posted that earlier in the week.
Yes, you did.
I also posted some information for if you want to send donations or anything. I think the funeral was today, so that link's probably a little old. But the GoFundMe campaign is out there. Yes, Kamala worked for the WWE, but thanks to his mounting medical bills and everything else, his family could really use some help. So if you feel inclined to do that, if you have the extra money to go out and give, we do encourage you to do so.
Hi, Natalia. Okay. Mr. Havoc, nice to meet you. My name is Alan. He is Keith. How are you doing?
What's going on, guys?
How are you?
Once I got through this technology thing, old people and technology, but now I'm here.
Yes.
But Kamala was in my top three. It was Roddy Piper, Hulk Hogan, and Kamala.
Really?
So yeah, tragic. My wife looked at me. She goes, "You gonna cry?" I'm like, "I might. I might." Like it was very sad for me.
I tell you,
very sad.
I don't know how. I don't want to ask you your age, Havoc, but I'm at the point now where like all my heroes are starting to fall. My guy was the Macho Man Randy Savage, and he had the accident a few years back, and then we've lost Roddy Piper. We've lost. I mean, they just keep falling. But somehow Ric Flair's still with us. Knock on wood.
It's the Keith Richards factor. I think Ric Flair kind of just falls right in there where Keith Richards is too. He's a
rock star, man. Woo!
It's Roaches, Ric Flair, and Keith Richards at the end of time, man. When 2020 is over, those are the three things that are guaranteed to be standing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so finally, I didn't actually make it. I was going to the church to do this segment with you guys, but then I had to pull off to the side of the road to try to get the technology to catch up to myself. So I'm exposed. I'm in a car instead of at the church.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Listen, if you got things to do, you don't have to stay with us for the whole hour.
I got things to do. I got things to do, and it's right here with you guys. I'm here. That's what I'm here to do. I was just trying to make it to a church to use it for the, you got my Kia instead.
Hey, last week we had JT Cage and the Hat Guy, and after we got off the live stream, JT Cage actually yelled at me. He could have talked for another hour.
I did one Thursday night, and I think we went about an hour and a half. Maybe it was an hour 45 minutes.
We normally go about an hour, 90 minutes tops, right?
Thereabouts, yeah.
All right, so my first question to you, I know Keith's chomping at the bit. Professor Keith here is my Jim Cornette, so to speak. But I'm going to ask you, take us back to when you started. Take us back to what got you into the business. What were your influences? I know you said Hogan and Kamala, but take
no, Piper,
Roddy Piper.
Piper
is he drops a leg doesn't mean he loves Hogan.
Hogan was number 2. He was. Look. When Andre beat Hogan, I cried. I straight up.
You mean
cried.
the double referee thing?
Yes. I think I was like 3, 4. I cried. No, my first wrestling memory actually. my first wrestling memory was Macho Man dropping the elbow on Steamboat. That was the first thing I ever seen, but I didn't get into it. The thing that hooked me was Roddy Piper and the flower shop. When Piper went heads up with the flower shop, that's my
Adrian
first.
Adonis.
Yes. Other than that Macho Man match with Steamboat, that was the first thing that was like, I liked that guy. I have no idea why. I mean, he was just a loudmouth. He got beat up, and then they painted his face red with the flower paint, and all of a sudden Roddy Piper was my guy. And unfortunately, that was the year he retired. So I got into wrestling just as he was leaving, but I was very excited when he came back. Of course, I became a fan of They Live, and fantastic movie. It so applies to modern day today. I've been telling everybody, watch They Live. Watch it. I'm just telling you,
I've come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass.
Yeah, I'm all out of bubble gum.
That's right.
So, that was the first thing that really got me into wrestling. And I mean, I'm one of these guys that I had to have my wrestling. It was like a spoiled teenager throwing a fit if my mom didn't record it when I was off playing football. I was playing high school football, and you didn't record it. What do you mean you didn't record? It was bad. I mean, if that VHS wasn't rolling, I was upset. So that was every Monday. It didn't have to be Thursday. I didn't worry about SmackDowns later when those came along, but every Monday night had to be Monday night. They left you with that cliffhanger at the end of the night, and you had to have it the next day. That's one of the things I miss. I miss that.
Yes. Yes. Listen, if we're of any opinion on this show, we totally think that the way wrestling is now versus the way it was during the 80s and 90s it's not the same anymore. I mean, I'm talking TV. I'm not talking the independent stuff. I'm talking TV.
Well, you see, and now I'm assuming you guys are around my age. So I'm just going to say we were born later than the time period of the great wrestling, but we got to see the great entertaining wrestling. And then all of a sudden that Attitude Era was just like, this is amazing, The
volume was turned way up.
Right. It's really hard. I mean, some of the stuff you go back and look at it, and I loved Psychosis, for example. I thought, oh man, this guy's so cool. Then I go baback and watch the matches, it's like so many botches. He botched so much. When they talk about like Sin Cara and Sin Cara botch, it's a botch fest. No, Psychosis was that guy, and so I'm going to assume that goes along with the with the style that they do, But it definitely, it's different now going back and watching that stuff. But when you watched it then, it was like, oh, this is the coolest thing. I mean, I know so much heat gets put on the finger poke of doom. I loved it. It was like, oh, as a fan, I was so pissed off. And I think that it evoked the emotion that
was
I
the
should
point,
have had.
Right? That was the point. Right. It was supposed to piss you off.
They didn't take care of it after that. You had this heel setup, and then, because I know part of the problem, not to cut you off, but just I know Nash has talked about it quite a bit because he was Booker then, that the whole point was to put the NWO back together, create this heel machine for Goldberg to run through, and then Goldberg goes and puts the shit out of his arm, trying to be Superman, putting his hand through not gimmick glass on a window. Which I always looked at that and I'm like, okay,
gimmick.
that's understandable.
What are you talking about gimmick?
10 guys for Goldberg, you know? Well, sometimes they use that sugar glass, you know?
They do not. Salacious lies. Salacious lies.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. Their head's going through glass. Marty Jannetty's head went through glass.
Barbershop, baby.
No.
All right, so then take us. All right, Keith, you wanna fire a question at him? I know you're chomping over there.
Yeah, I mean, one question I have, because I watched some of your matches on YouTube, what I could find in preparation for this, and it looked to me, and maybe it's just what I saw, that sometimes it seems like the bookers have kind of a problem like the early Undertaker with you, because you're such a big guy. So to create credibility, they either put you in with other big guys, or they give you like triple threat matches where if you have somebody smaller than you, they decide we'll give them two and work with them. Is that kind of accurate as to how you're usually booked?
I've had quite the unusual experience when it comes to wrestling. And I've been fortunate. I've been fortunate to have bookers that have put me in a position that has allowed me to build this character. So, I mean, to take it back a little bit, I think it was 2014, my friend Jason Dubinsky, who actually initially was the one to take the time to show me how to do things right so I wouldn't hurt myself, hurt others. He passed away. So his memorial show came up, and I never really did anything in wrestling leading up to this point. I had done a couple shows for Rob Noxious at CCW where we came out and rapped during intermission, and then somebody would come and bugger with us, and then one of the faces would come chase them off. And, that happened 3 times over. And then finally, we kind of.
I would propose the idea to the promoters to do the same thing. And, the first guy was in Ohio. Because, I'd be interested in having wrestle what you guys. The other guys don't wrestle. I'd be interested in having you wrestle. So I just kind of went out to that. And I was a lot slower than him. And so it was a lot of it was very untrained and very yardish of what I was doing, And so my friend Jason Dubinsky kind of invested the time in me to show me, hey, just a good walk me through the steps of keeping myself safe so I didn't end up hurting myself, paralyzed, or paralyzing somebody else. With that, I did nothing with it because I was so involved in the music. I ended up working out a nationally released album, and that was pretty much my life from 2004 to 2013 was just doing the music. And then when Jason passed away, I wanted to do his memorial show, and I did a management spot on it, but it was like a no rules match, so I was pretty much involved in the match. But my back was so messed up at that point that I got to the back and I was useless, And I'm thinking to myself, like, my son was there, he loved it so much, and I need to get myself in the position to do this. I guess it was 2013, because 14 was when I had gotten myself to the shape to get back into the ring. And at the end of the year, I had done a Pro Wrestling Showcase, a couple shows with them down in West Virginia, which led to me debuting with SSW. So with Pro Wrestling Showcase, SSW, I spent about 4 years just doing that, and then a couple off shows with LTW. All that stuff that I was doing there was booked exactly the same way. I was booked as this unbeatable monster to the point where the win-loss record was 149 and 0 up until I finally took my first loss. And that was right after I won the SSW heavyweight title. Somebody came in, cashed the contract. So, that was a real cool takeoff in 2016. I ended up winning the King of Queens of Indy Wrestling Wrestler of the Year, which is kind of like a multi-state area online voting thing. And so, it was kind of a real hot start. But it wasn't actually until I left SSW and kind of had nothing but things career at the time that started steamrolling for me. So when you see me against these bigger guys, it's, Dorian Black's Malcolm King is why my game got stepped up. Because once I parted ways with SSW, it was all right. I'm starting my own thing here with my dad backing me. We're doing this RWF thing, and so we started up RWF, and I guess that came a little bit later because I did the PWA. PWA fell apart, and it's like, okay, well let's get Harrisburg. The PW's Harrisburg, they're drawing big crowds to see if we can kind of catch that lightning in a bottle they had. Right. So that's when we started RWF. And that officially put the end to me in SSW because it's like, all right, well, I'm going to be doing my own thing now. And that really became my focus. But I started working shows out at Triple WA, got to work with Malcolm King, and got to talk with Rob again. And that was instrumental. Rob, I did some training with Rob that, I never dedicated myself to going constantly, which I think was a huge mistake on my behalf. Had I put the time into myself early on, instead of waiting over the last couple of years, I think that I could have done a lot more with what I had done. But at the same time, it's always been very fortunate with the booking that I've had, where getting matches with guys like Dorian Black and Malcolm King, guys who can go, that the elevator I can do. You get some matches with smaller guys and whatnot that they're fun, but I like the challenge. I'd rather do the I call the move as above so below the one strongest slam on Malcolm King, but on some guy that I would lift above my head. Malcolm King should have just drop as quick as I can just to get him. But it's a big boy. I don't know if you're familiar with Malcolm.
Yeah.
You're talking 425 pounds of Malcolm King.
He's a big dude.
Living guy. Yeah. It definitely we got our weight variances going there.
Yeah. So with the pandemic hitting, everything's kind of like floating around, right? I mean, people are trying to book shows. I know Triple WA did the outdoor show. I was there at the outdoor show. I saw you wrestle live, and we were coming to August 22nd until Dino got sick, and then now it's kind of up in the air. They're going to do something in September. Have you heard anything about Triple WA in September?
I haven't heard an update on from anything from where we were. That's the last. Oh, nice. Excuse the noise. I got a nice motorcycle gang going by the side of me here.
Your audio was kind of wacky there for a while.
Yeah, it's got to be $100 going by me right now, easily.
Awesome. Of course.
And more. But so it's going to be a little wonky for me to hear you for a moment because my audio feed cut from the car here. But so with Triple WA, man, I loved what Dino's doing. And it really bummed me out to see that because he was the only, and I shouldn't even say the only, he was the first one to get it kind of going back. CCW's got a show coming up here.
They got coming, yeah.
And I'm really hoping that, we can arrange something to get RWF back up and running. Unfortunately, we run out of a bar. So I could go 25% capacity, which means that we'd have 100 people, including the wrestlers.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you're talking 50 people. If I had 50 people and I bring out Scott Steiner, which, he's next on deck to come out for us, I'm pretty much going to be out of business. So, I'm going to wait till I find the appropriate venue to do it. And, we reached out to a couple minor league parks and a couple drive-in theaters. The minor league parks wanted way too much money. They're talking $5,000. And I'm like, I can draw to max. I can't, So it's just, it's a game of the numbers right now. Where can we put it that it makes sense? But it's really a drag with the coronavirus creating the problems here for it because a lot of the wrestlers. Nobody's doing anything stupid. You know what I mean? Like at the last show, everybody really observed what their guidelines are supposed to be, and if everybody just behaves responsibly for the narrative that they want us to follow, then we shouldn't have a problem, That's
the key right there. The word stupid. That right there. They got to just be. They've got to follow the guidelines. They got to listen to, because they just got to. I worry about sports. I worry about all. I'm a big sports fan of all sports. I worry about Major League Baseball. The outbreak they had with the Miami Marlins.
But you did see that they were all false positives then.
Yeah,
they were able to resume playing. They're not even actual positives.
Well, that's the thing, and then the Cardinals are going through that too, the exact same thing. So it worries me about the NFL. I mean, I just hope it all goes smooth. NBA.
I just don't see if those tests are that inconsistent, and those are the tests that I mean, obviously baseball's not buying the cheap tests,
right?
No.
So those are your good tests, and they're all coming up with false positives,
right?
Exactly. That's a problem. It's a real problem, and I almost wonder, and anybody who follows me on social media knows I like a good conspiracy. But you get more money per the amount of diagnoses that you have as far as positives. So it almost makes me wonder: are they subtracting those numbers when they come back as false positives, or are they still keeping them as cases?
I don't know.
If that's the case, this is going to go on forever.
I don't want to get. I don't want to get
to the point where people are being diagnosed because people are being diagnosed that aren't even sick.
I don't want to get my buddy fired up in the middle there about politics because he'll talk a whole hour on politics.
It's not politics, but this is the only virus in history that is political.
Right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yep, you're absolutely right. It's the only virus that I've ever heard of where we talk about precautions and you have people debating the precautions. And you're right. There is a lot of problem with the testing. I mean, if you read, there is so many different tests out there, and it depends on what test you get. And that is scary when you're talking about, a multi-billion-dollar entity like Major League Baseball. And like you say, they're not buying the cheap test. They're not buying, Joe on the corner drugstore's test and saying, here, give it to everybody. You would think they're going out there and they're buying the most advanced test possible. And they're still getting these false positives. And it's scary, especially for like you're talking about, you're trying to get shows going, you're trying to get things going. So is Dino, so is everybody else in the area. And you guys aren't WWE, you aren't ROH, you aren't owned by, big cable conglomerate that if you run a show, it doesn't make any money or you have a lot of problems. Well, we can just shut back down and we'll start up in 2 months. Like, no, you guys are on a tight budget, like a restaurant or something. Like, you need those shows and you need that money to survive. And that's who I feel for in all of this. The mom and pops, the small people that are getting squeezed by this.
We had a very unique situation with RWF because we moved into the HMAC, Harrisburg Midtown Arts Center, right after it had got purchased. And it was a $6 million deal. They just bought it a year ago. $6 million. And it's got a huge renovation deal going with it. And they put all this money into it. Now it's sitting. They can't even open their doors right now because of the policies that are set for it. It's squeezing the life out of them. And this is one of the places that, for them, they weren't choking me. And that's beautiful. When I went in there and ran a show and we ran a $12 ticket, an advance 15 at the door, an advance the venue got $2. At the door, the venue got $5. And for anyone to run a deal like that without saying, oh, well, give me all your money up front, they were a partner. You know what I mean? So, they choked us out. They choked our partner out. And it's very tough to come back and say, okay, well, we got all these false positives. How many false negatives are there?
Yeah, and that is
if we can't even nail down a positive, how are we nailing down a negative? And then how many people are being told that they're negative and then going out and getting sick and getting other people sick? I mean, it's a big problem. And until they figure out a way to really squash it, which, look, I wasn't for the lockdown, but hey, if we need to do it, stay home for 14 days. Let's just shut everything down for 14 days. We'd already be out of this, If Walmart would have shut down and Lowe's and Home Depot and literally we just stuck with grocery stores open, we'd be out of this right now. There'd be no excuse to be into it, I should say. All
right, so tell us about this character. Tell us where this character came into fruition for you. Like, where did it come from? What part of you do you dig down in and bring this guy out?
What character?
It's all you. It's all you. This is you.
God.
This is you're the living God with the volume turned way up.
Living God. Really, actually, when I started deciding that I was going to get my back rehab and do this and actually dedicate myself to trying to get back in the ring. Right. And when I say back in the ring, I say that very, very lightly because you're talking, maybe 15 shows, not counting the rapping gimmicks at CCW over a matter of 10 years. So it's like a show here and there. So I never really did it seriously. But, when I wanted to start doing it, I started, okay, well, what's my character going to be? And so I started developing this Jim Morrison style way of talking online. And I was cutting promos for nothing. I didn't have a show. I didn't have a company. I was just cutting promos and doing poetry in a way.
Yeah,
but
right.
it all kind of had this very cultish feeling to it. And so, when I was building that up, I never came up with a living God character. That was something that Jim Norcross, Diamond X Cross added to the equation, and it just really stuck and worked because I'm a cult-eating priest. Well, of course I'm a living God, and David Koresh is Jesus Christ. Sure, why not? So that's kind of it so happened upon that, but already kind of the face paint, the eyes, that was already pre-established from doing what I was doing with the hip hop stuff. So I kept the same image, just added a little bit more egocentricalness to the character. But I mean, in life, you gotta have some sort of role, and mine is definitely a little more egocentric, and I've had to actually tone that down in my personal life and kind of separate the two as well. And it's like, you're not the living God at home. If my wife's watching right now, she will say that she said that many times.
Keith?
Yeah, that God bless for significant others, right? Nobody's going to keep you in line more than that, right?
Amen. Amen.
Hey, if it wasn't for other people that organize everything and keep it in order for me, I'd be completely lost. Where's my damn knee pads? They should be here. You should be ready. Where are they?
Nice.
I can't tell you how many times it's happened. My poor ex-wife at some points, because she works for my mom through the week as well. Sometimes it'll be like, the wife, hey, you know where my knee pads are? And so I end up having to message the ex-wife, and they having to meet my mom, so I'll stay here after shows sometimes. And she's right near Rob's training center, so when I come down here to train, half my stuff gets left there anyway. So it's funny, it really carries over into real life where it's like I'm the creator of all, I do nothing. Help me find it.
Hey guys, if you guys are watching us right now live, there are a dozen of you. It's gone from 20 to 10 to 20 to 10. And you got comments, you got questions for Mr. Havock here, throw them at me, man. But my board is completely empty right now. So you're all just sitting back, maybe having a coffee, having a tea, sitting here and watching us run our mouths. I want to see you guys run your mouths.
It's 8:30. Coffee and tea. That has caffeine in it. Caffeine is a drug, and you should not.
You heard there's a thing
take
called
your vitamins, say your prayers, and do your training, kids.
Damn.
Vitamins, prayers, and training.
Listen, there is decaffeinated varieties of those two things, right?
So, decaffeinated coffee with your vitamins. I keep mine right here in my center console. That's for the monster test.
Okay.
Right there. I got my vitamins ready to go.
There you go.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Every day, gotta have it right there as a daily reminder.
I did want to go back to something you said a few minutes ago that I loved so much. Is when Alan asked you about your character and you said, what character? And that is something that is so missing right now, is people kind of taking themselves and saying, I'm just going to turn that up to 10. I'm going to turn that up to 11. Let's see what happens. I mean, that's what Piper did. That's what Flair did. That's what Hogan did. I mean, nobody went out and told these guys who to be. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with at least the mainstream right now, is so much of telling these guys who to be, how to act, what moves to do. And it comes across. It just comes across as so inauthentic, and it makes it so hard to watch. Like I said, I watched a handful of your matches before we got on here tonight, and I watched that, and I'm talking to you now, and I see where you're the same person. You're the same person. You just put on a little bit of face paint. You dial it up a little bit. But the Mal Havoc I'm talking to now, that's the same Mal Havoc that I watched wrestle. And that's so invigorating now, because nobody is doing that anymore.
Right.
It just seems like nobody is being themselves out there.
You hit the nail on the head. Everybody wants to be as good as Eddie, or but there, you got to keep in mind Eddie had supporting characters that made him as great as he was. Because Eddie and JBL feud, Eddie is a great wrestler. JBL was a great entertainer, and JBL doing the little skits where he'd go down to the border and all the stuff that they cancel JBL over these days.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
What made JBL's character so large, and those supporting things made Eddie Guerrero great. And that's the whole way through the line of the lineage of wrestling, and I think it's lacking that. I mean, you got your pre-piped, oh, the big dog. I mean, does anybody watching right now ever refer to Roman Reigns as the big dog? Ever? It's so preconceived, and you feel it in the promos. When CM Punk dropped the pipe on, it was like, oh yes, we're getting back to it. And then Kevin Owens did it too, and it was like, okay, we're gonna get back to it.
Yeah.
And they haven't released the beast to everybody else, And like Rob Van Dam, underrated talker. They never didn't when they gave him the opportunity to talk at One Night Stand. It's like, okay, you've seen the Rob Van Dam that was in ECW that could talk.
Yes.
That could, and WWE just never gave him the ball to do that. So I mean, I think a lot of the mainstream wrestling just has to do with that specifically, where WWE wants so much control over everything that they don't really get to elaborate into the character of themselves or feel themselves because they're being given it. As opposed, and I was lucky because a lot of times, the road will say, well, I need you to be. I wanted, my pet project was, I wanted Pretty Ricky Jackson. I wanted this guy that came out and danced. He was kind of funky, and the kid never really connected with the character. And Ricky Ortiz is a great kid, but he never really liked the Pretty Ricky character, so I could never get him to pull that out. And a lot of these guys are just kind of handed that, I mean, Kevin Owens is.
I love Kevin Owens.
It's just a different last name, they didn't really change anything other than the name, so they own the name. And AJ Styles is one of those Eddie Guerrero types where Owens can talk and Owens can fight. AJ Styles can fight, and that's kind of
he can do it. He can do it all.
If somebody that can talk, then they can really elevate AJ. But I was real hot on AJ when he left TNA, and I was like, oh man, WWF would be the greatest thing. And I still call it WWF. It'll be the greatest thing ever if they get AJ Styles, and then they got AJ Styles, and it was like, okay, it's good with him, but they haven't really hit the bullseye on anything, and it's really made watching. I mean, obviously the coronavirus hasn't made watching anything easy,
right?
But,
no crowds.
No, but even leading into that, I tried to watch WrestleMania, and that was so hard.
Yeah,
I had to keep it to the theatrical matches.
And how do you feel about them? We had a whole episode about cinematic matches. How did you feel about them?
I was a complete mark for the Firefly Funhouse match with Cena. Okay. I mean, I just smiled, and my kids enjoyed it. And that's kind of the measuring stick. There's people always say about an it factor in wrestling, and I see it in my kids because none of my kids have ever seen Hulk Hogan wrestle, but they damn sure know who Hulk Hogan is.
Right.
My kids, their favorite wrestlers are Rey Mysterio and John Cena.
Because that's who they grew up with.
Mine. I definitely didn't bring the influence to like those guys because I wanted to like Daniel Bryan. We all love Daniel Bryan. And then that's on a real personal level for me. I went down to the one Comic-Con to, we did a meet and greet for the kids so they could meet Daniel Bryan and whatnot. For me too. I thought, this is kind of cool, So
I like Daniel Bryan. I'm a fan of his. I'm a fan of Daniel Bryan's.
I actually have his book right here. My smooth pulling it out of the shelf skills. But I have his book right here.
There you
Great
go.
read. Great read. If you're the kind that reads, I recommend.
He's an awesome guy. And I've never paid to meet a wrestler. He's the only wrestler I've ever paid to meet. I've never paid to meet anyone just because, I don't have the money to show up or something like that. It'd be cool if they were somewhere and I, got to shake their hand. Awesome. But, Daniel Bryan was it. And actually, I ended up trading in. I bought my ex-wife a meet and greet with Stan Lee, and her and I split a week before the Comic-Con. So I cashed in the Stan Lee for an extra ticket and for a Daniel Bryan meet and greet.
Nice.
And so we get there, Daniel Bryan, and we're at the last 10 minutes of his photo section. And I walk around. My mom gets to go through the one entrance with my son, and she goes in, and they directed her to the autograph stand, not to the photo stand. So there I am, standing in front of Daniel Bryan. It's just me and him and my oldest son. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. We'll just take the photo. He's like, no, I'll wait. I'm like, you serious? He's like, yeah. So I'm like trying to direct my mom to get back to where she needs to be. And about 10 minutes later, she gets there. So Daniel Bryan just stood there and chit-chatting for 10 minutes. So he was then 10 minutes late for his autograph session, which he stayed an extra 10 minutes for. And then it made him 10 minutes late for his Q&A session. And they're like, look, Daniel Bryan got caught up upstairs. He's going to have to leave in 20 minutes. So, get your questions before him now. He's like, why do I got to leave? He's like, you got to be in Allentown. And he looked at his phone. He's like, nope, it's only an hour and a half away. That's what's traffic right now. And they're like, well, they have you on schedule to leave. He's like, it's cool. I'm staying. So he stayed through the whole thing. And that whole delay for him was all because he stayed there to meet my son. So my son could be in that photo with us. So, and what was bad was my son was a big fan, but he was so tired that, like, he didn't care and he didn't recognize him in person. He's sitting there in his kind of shirt. So I'm like, buddy, say yes for the camera. He went to it, But, I appreciated the fact that he stuck behind. And, my son Dante, he got to actually meet Daniel Bryan, and, we got a photo with him. So it had a real cool experience with him, and made me a lifetime fan of his. There's nothing that you can say about him that makes him a bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to autograph signings, and there are certain guys that are awesome with the fans, and there are a few of those, they're there, but they're not really engaged with the fans. They're like, it's like you can just tell there's like a vibe, and then if you have your kids with you, it's like you're trying to like be cool about it and not be, and acknowledge the fact that the guy's being a jerk. But I've dealt with a couple of them too. But I tell you, I'm right there with you. With my kids grew up watching John Cena too. Keith there comes to my house. He used to come to my house for almost every pay-per-view, and we're talking NXT takeovers and AEW too, and Manias for sure. And I'd have he's not a big fan of John Cena, so I'd have my kid like do this to him when he walks in the door. But how do you feel about AEW? Do you watch it?
I've tried. I watched a match with the Super Best Friends, I believe.
Hey, Angel.
They're called, right? Super Best Friends. It's
the Best Friends, yes. Yeah. Orange Cassidy.
So it was a tag match. Orange Cassidy was on the outside, and there was the other guy on the other team hooked the guy up on the top rope, and then he took some baby oil and put it on the top rope, and started sliding the guy down the top rope with the baby oil.
Right.
And I'm like, yes. And I changed over to NXT, and there was a theatrical match. It just kind of, I stuck with it, and I tried to go back to watch it at another time, and Matt Hardy's changing costumes in a ice chest.
Yes.
Like, what's going on here?
What's going on here? I
felt so bad. Like, I was listening to Stern, and when Stern's like, Goldust is a backyard wrestler now. And I had to look at it. I looked at the match, I'm like, okay. So they must have seen the footage of Goldust doing this outside match on a football field or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, man, like, I'm not in that age group, I think is what it really comes down to. It's not like, I'm such a WWE fan, because I can't watch that product right now either. And that's not, sad to them, but I'd rather watch Owen Hart Yokozuna wrestle for 5 minutes than watch,
Keith, that's right up your alley, man. Keith, that's right up your alley, what he just said. He'd rather watch Bret Hart versus Yokozuna than watch the current product out there right now.
And you're not the only one. I mean, I go over and I visit a friend of mine. Her son knows I'm into wrestling, and I mean, he's like, anything I'm into, he wants to at least check it out. And you let him watch some of the modern stuff. Like, I thought he would really get into Luchasaurus because he loves dinosaurs. I took that. I said, okay, buddy, why don't you watch this movie? And I let him watch a Godzilla movie. And now his whole life is Godzilla. Everything is Godzilla now. So I'm like, dinosaurs, Godzilla. Oh, he'll probably like this Luchasaurus guy. Because Luchasaurus is right up his alley. So I show him some Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. He's not interested. He doesn't like what the guy does. He thinks he looks ugly. I'll put him in front of WrestleMania 8, watch Piper Bret Hart, and he loved it. He was totally into it. I'll let him watch The Undertaker. Undertaker Triple H from one of those Saudi Arabia shows. He loved it. He's into it. And because these guys don't do storytelling now, they do all these great moves and stuff, but it's like I keep trying to tell some of my other friends, they look at it like it's all about the sports base. And to me, it's like, but it's not. Like, that's important. You should know how to work and do all that and make things believable, but it's about the character. It's about the show business part of it. Like, my biggest example is, Daniel Bryan would be a millionaire with 50,000 title wins, or Chris Benoit would have been, and Hulk Hogan would be nobody. And it was just purely sport, purely how well you do in the ring.
Absolutely.
And the showbiz part didn't matter. Hulk Hogan would be broke and nobody would know who he is. And we would be talking about the Chris Benoits and the Daniel Bryans as the household names that everybody knows.
And that even testifies what I was saying earlier with my kids all knowing who Hogan is without ever seeing a match. It was funny when I think it was my daughter, Genesis. I'm like, well, the Rock wrestle? Another guy with that it factor, and it is a look. It is a charisma. It's the character. All those things got to be there to really create that nucleus of what makes a pro wrestling, And sure, Ring of Honor, it can have all the great 5-star matches that they want, but the level of national exposure kind of is limited with that, and the average person wants to be entertained while watching their fights,
Listen, man.
When they're fighting.
Listen, man. One of the reasons why we started this show a couple of months ago was because we were sick of the current product, and we wanted to just come on and talk about it, because we debate about it every day. We text each other in a chat room every day about AEW. I was excited for AEW. I wanted the Wednesday Night Wars, NXT and AEW. In the beginning, it felt like the Monday Night Wars were starting over again, but it was on Wednesdays. And I want AEW to succeed. You know what I mean? I really do. They got to get their heads out of their own asses, but I really do. Through this show, though, we started paying more attention to the independent wrestling scene, because to me, you guys are all doing the basic stuff that we used to love, just putting on great shows.
In all fairness, what I do love about AEW, we got so many kids there. You got Nyla Rose.
Yeah.
You got Mr. Grimm. Those three individuals work real hard.
Yeah.
You see them all over the circuit, all over the East Coast. I don't know if they really hit West Coast like that, but I just following them and having the opportunity to work a couple shows with Grimm and Nyla and other shows. They're hard workers. They're dedicated to what they do. So seeing people like that get that opportunity, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and Rob said that too. He seeing guys that you guys have worked with, you're rooting for them. You see them succeed. That's awesome. That's passion for the business and passion for your fellow, performers.
Yeah, and I really, you hate seeing the negativity getting shined on some of them, and it's kind of like, man, be happy for these people, man. This is something that we all love to do, and if they're getting to do it on TV on a national stage,
yeah.
And that's all you can ask for,
Absolutely.
Personally, I never set out to, maybe at one point in time when I was real young, and when I first wanted to start doing this, I wanted to be Shawn Michaels. That was one thing. And I wanted to be Shawn Michaels, got the body of King Kong Bundy later on in life. You know what I mean? Just work with the hands you're dealt.
And you do very well with the hand you're dealt, because I do see some King Kong Bundy now that you mentioned. I do see some King Kong.
You
Bundy
squash people, man.
Yeah.
You make people pay.
I used to be able to do a ground level moonsault, but I was 225 pounds. So, and that was what was really, and going back to what I was saying earlier, that was something that really handicapped me early on, because I wanted to work at the pace that I had initially learned. So I'm still trying to go a mile a minute, and we're trying to move a 460-pound frame to go a mile a minute. And It doesn't work like that, and doing the leg drop and trying to get up real quick. No. So I've kind of learned to take it slow. And the more slow I go, the longer I can go out there and do a match. If I blow myself up in 6 minutes, and I'm going to that, and that's not. I got bronchial asthma. I don't need to move at that pace. You know what I mean? I gotta keep myself at a level where I feel comfortable, and that's kind of where in the last 2 years I've been finding that comfort zone and using, like you mentioned earlier, using the proper psychology, because sitting under Rob's learning tree is very helpful for that. There's so much knowledge that people like Rob and Mark Nest have, that just talking with them and being around them and just kind of seeing how they react to things. You don't even need to talk to them specifically, but just see how they react. Or kind of hearing the comments back and forth, or just, when I notice something, I'll throw it. If he agrees, I know, okay, boy, I'm learning stuff, So I think that's so crucial to anybody looking to get in this business. Do it the right way. Because I didn't. and I think I would have done a lot more and been able to offer a lot more at this point than what I have had I done it the right way. But you live and learn,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Keith. You got something?
Yeah, I kind of do. You talk about advice and all that, and I am a big fan of Jim Cornette and some of the older podcasts, and I have a bunch of history books and stuff that I've read. And that's one of the things that everybody says is missing now. That it used to be, you were a young guy, you got into the territory, you got in a car with the veteran, they pushed the seat back and they made sure that your ass was listening, and over a case of beer or whatever, it would be like, you do this, you do that, you do this. They tell you where your match went right, where your match went wrong. And so many people don't have that anymore. We don't have that knowledge. And you talk about, Roddy Piper's gone. Harley Race is gone now. Kamala's gone.
Dusty
is gone. All of these guys that had all of this knowledge. And, thank God some of them, like Dusty, stayed involved in the major companies and taught people and passed that knowledge on. But I worry now as more of these people go, that knowledge is going away, and that there isn't that, and there also isn't that value for that. I know FTR did an interview recently where they said they had Ricky Morton come in to talk to people in developmental, and nobody was paying attention. Nobody went up to Ricky Morton and wanted to ask him questions or get his knowledge on anything. And it's like, guys, this guy's one of the most phenomenal tag team wrestlers ever. That he's credibly worked with Rick.
They were on Dynamite this Wednesday.
Exactly, like the Rock and Roll Express.
They were on Dynamite,
and he's worked single. Pick his brain. If these people are here to talk to you, and you don't have to pay for it, and you can pick their brain, why wouldn't you recognize the opportunity that is?
Yep.
I think it's threefold, and there's really three things that go into this. One, a lot of these guys didn't go through, and I've been fortunate. Being in the music business, I learned how to network. And because of my ability to network, it kind of allowed me to jump a step that I didn't have to learn how to interact with people and network the way that every other wrestler needs to. And that's kind of what, all your training and initial, everything you have coming up, that kind of prepares you for that, outside of everything else that teaches you for being safe, not getting hurt, not hurting others, blah, blah, blah. It teaches you the proper way to network, whether it's, hey, Rob, man, I got this show opportunity, man, can I take it? Just like that, and having a promoter that will step up and talk for you and maybe say, hey, I got this guy, can you put him on? A lot of these young guys don't have that because they're getting opportunities without doing the other steps. Another thing you see a lot, this is where people's minds are during they'll talk about their match, and then they're on their phones. So what can you really learn? You're not even watching the other matches. You're not seeing what they're doing. So then, wrestler match 2 does, something over the top ridiculous. We'll use the Canadian Destroyer. I know you said you listen to Cornette. Cornette bitches about that all the time. Wrestler match 2 uses Canadian Destroyer wrestling. Match 4 uses Canadian Destroyer. And it's usually not that type of a move, but like Now you'll see, okay, well, there's a power slam in that match 2 matches later. Oh, there's a power slam and a leg lariat. Well, then the next match, there's a leg lariat. Like, having somebody to actually take the time and put these matches together for you is huge.
Right.
So I bring Mark Mess down to do that for me. I bring Mark Mess down to agent my matches.
I'm having him on. Did you know that? I'm having Mark Mest on. I'm having Mark Mest as a guest in a couple of weeks.
Oh, nice. Mark's an awesome guy.
I can't wait.
Awesome
I can't wait. I've talked to him. I can't wait. I can't wait to put it on here.
You know, I knew Mark's reputation, or Mark's reputation definitely carries before him. And so I had the opportunity when I seen him at one of the Triple WA shows. I'm like, hey, Mark, hey, let me talk to you. And just wanted to try to exactly do that. Try to just get some feedback from Mark. I want to know what you think. You've been in this business so long, you know.
Yep.
And I was talking about, like, look, you know, like, can I get you to come down to my show? Maybe, you know, have your timekeep for me, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, the main thing was to have Mark's head there, you know, and have his brain for other guys, and he don't do it. And I'd post in the groups like, guys, I'm paying this guy to come down here. Use him.
Mhm.
We got Rob Notches.
Yes.
You got Mark Mist. You got Diamond Dex Cross. Go talk to these guys. You want to develop your character? Go talk to Diamond Dex. Because you know what? That man's creative process is fantastic. And he'll help you think of 3 things that you didn't think of. You know? You want to
Hi,
put together
Lady
psychology
E.
in the match. What's that?
That comment right there is from Lady E from Clockwatch. She says, "What's up, guys? Keep up the good work." Hi, Lady E.
But, you know, it just blows my mind. Like, you put these people there, and they're not being utilized. And I think that it really comes down to guys learning those proper things and how to network and how to really gain that knowledge. And you're absolutely right. And those guys just ride in the car by themselves. Very few do the carpool thing. I tried it for a while, and you just don't get reliable guys that, you know, want to travel. I had Cyrus Parker for a while that was traveling with me, but I was very early on, so it was kind of like, you know, we were feeding off of each other's egos. We didn't really learn anything from each other. You know what I mean? And so that didn't help anything. But, you know, we could really use, you know, a Rob Notches in the car to be like, you guys are morons. Because that would have helped us at the time. You know what I mean? It really would have. I remember the first time I went up to Rob. You know, me and Cyrus just we won the tag titles at SSW, and so me and Cyrus are like, oh, he invited us up, cool, you know, blah blah blah. So, you know, we get up there, our heads are like this, you know, and Rob's like, all right, let's put together this match. So he has us do a match with Malcolm King and young man named Rob. I can't remember Rob's last name for the life of me right now. He hurt his neck, though, on one of the shows. He had to step out of wrestling early and broken his neck. But I got the opportunity to work with Malcolm King and Rob in this, you know, in this training match. And after the match was done, Rob's just like, you guys suck. And I'm like, what do you mean we suck? We're champions. You know what I mean? But our characters were so much bigger than our abilities at that time that, you know, we got opportunities afforded to us that we probably weren't ready for, you know? But because we had a good show, we had, you know, everything that we had in line going, hey, thank you, Facebook user.
Yeah, Facebook
I
user.
know.
Facebook
We always have
user.
this problem with people coming in and not quite knowing how to log their accounts in and stuff.
Yeah, we never dealt with anybody like that before.
Yeah,
You know, not even today.
no.
No.
You know, I wish I would have, at that moment when Rob told me I sucked, instead of getting ball hurt about it, I really wish I would have attached to him and been like, how do I get better? Get in my ear, you know. Instead, I waited 3.5 years to do that, you know.
Yeah, so, man. I had Rob on the show, man, and the conversation was great. I felt like I know him already, you know. It's like, and he became friends with my brother TJ, and him and my brother TJ talk all the time. And he's got us coming down to his next show all the way down by flipping Harrisburg, because that's where Maryville is, right? You know what I mean?
Maryville's like 15 minutes across the river.
Well, guess what? Me and my brother TJ are going to that show to support Rob and the rest of whoever else is there.
Awesome.
And also, this show here, we want to make it clear that we want to support all, because there's a lot of people out there that don't know how much wrestling is actually out there at their disposal. And we want to be that show where people come on, promote up and coming events. People, sure, we're going to talk about the individual and yourselves, of course, but we want people to come here and find out, what's coming up next for you guys. Spread the word, man, because that's what Rob did for me. I have guest booked for the next 6 weeks because of Rob Noxious. I'm not gonna lie.
Nice.
Oh, hey, we got a comment, Keith.
Oh, do we?
No, we got it. We got a very. You're gonna love this one. You're gonna love this one. Heel turn Harry.
Oh,
Heel turn Harry says, "Great show, guys. Thanks, Harry."
yeah, thank you, sir.
He made an appearance.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Mal. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
That was pretty much so sad. I wish I would have embraced that opportunity to have somebody in my ear, and sometimes you let your ego get the best of you, and I think that happens with a lot of the young kids, where it's like, oh, I know what I'm doing, sure, and I'm seeing it more and more. The more that I learn, and the further I get, it's like, how often you training, kid?
Now, speaking of kids, we got Rob's boys on tomorrow night. Tomorrow night on this show at 6:00, we got the sons of Rob Noxious, both of them at the same time.
Which ones, Mr. Ping and Stefan?
Yes,
okay.
Mr. Ping.
Also Petey Noxious.
Well, we got two of them then. We got Mr. Ping and Stefan. Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Ping is the RWF heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
So, awesome to have him on there. And Stefan is actually the RWF tag team champion with Adrian.
We got champions, Keith. We got champions tomorrow, man. I've been watching some of their stuff. For every guest that comes on, and Keith does the same thing. We go on and we try to find as much of your guys' stuff so we know what we're talking about here. And it's great. It's great going in there and finding this stuff and seeing what you guys can really do. It's been to open up a new world for us. Like we started to really dislike wrestling, right? I mean, especially the mainstream stuff, Keith, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we started getting into this into your guys' world, and we're like, oh man, this is what I want. I want to see more of this.
Right. Yeah, and honestly, for me, that's kind of where I stand on it. It's so hard to watch what's on there today, right now. I like I referenced earlier. It's easier to watch the older stuff, and maybe that's just the old man in me that wants to hear Skinner. I guess that's kind of the comparison. Except for I'm the old man that my kids are listening to Marshmallow, and I'm like, this is electronic. Where's the prodigy at?
Keith, I just had an interesting message from Heel Turn Harry. Now, if you haven't seen any of our prior episodes, Mal, Heel Turn Harry is the third guy in this equation. Normally, he had plans tonight. He canceled on us, so you're just getting us two. Now, all of a sudden, his plans have changed, and he wants to join us. How do y'all feel about that?
Bring him on in, and that gives a new ear. I like it.
He's a little more still plugged into the mainstream.
He is.
So he's trying to be oddball.
Like he loves, he'll give you that perspective. He loves what's going on Raw and SmackDown right now. He loves the whole Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt thing.
I don't know that he loves things so much that involve Braun Strowman.
Oh well.
I know more about the Bray Wyatt.
I love the Fiend. So
I like the Fiend.
Yeah. That's about the Firefly Funhouse is the greatest thing that's been going on this last year.
Right. I don't know if I can join him while we're live. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out without canceling the whole thing.
Man, that would be bad. We got a lot of good momentum going right now.
We do. But yeah, keep talking. I'm going to try to figure this out.
Let's keep momentum going, yes.
And I mean, you say like, oh, well, it's the old man in me. But, sometimes it really just becomes, though, it was better. Sometimes it is a case of being able to say, like, okay, yeah, you like this music over here, but go listen to Skinner or go listen to, the Beatles or go listen to these other people and just kind of realize, like, this is qualitatively better. And I feel like there is a good bit of that in wrestling. Like, I understand people like what they like. And it can be a little bit of, everybody's got their flavor of ice cream they like. Maybe I like vanilla, you like chocolate. There's nothing wrong with
I hate chocolate. I hate chocolate.
Okay, well, there you go.
You give me pistachio and I'm happy.
All right. So, I mean, you've got your pistachio, and maybe, Alan doesn't like pistachio. But that's the beauty of it. He doesn't have to eat pistachio. We don't all have to eat the same flavor of ice cream. And I understand the people that say that about wrestling. Oh, you might not like match 5, but maybe you'll like match 8. But you're right. Like right now, especially with WWE, it's so over-scripted, and I don't feel like 90% of the time it's wrestling. I feel like the wrestling is just something they feel like they have to do to get to their wonderful Shakespearean storylines or whatever. And it's like,
you got such an amazing accumulation of talent.
mm-hmm.
Undeniable. The best era of talented wrestlers in history.
Absolutely. The in-ring quality is insane right now.
Right. But it's that entertainment value that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I hate to give Russo credit because, like,
oh,
when
God.
it was WCW, it was awful.
Yeah,
like,
it was.
I think Vince needs people around him that can feed him ideas that he can then turn into something. And I think maybe at this point he's just, and I've really enjoyed some of the stuff on NXT. So maybe when Hunter takes over, if Hunter takes over, if they don't sell the company to Saudi Arabia, which is the latest rumor that I heard.
Yeah, they've got a lot of problems with the Saudis right now, and I know the stockholders have a lot of problems too. They're actually getting sued over some of the stuff they've promised to the stockholders vis-a-vis Saudi Arabia. But heel turns here, so I guess we, should probably say hello to him and get his thoughts on things. So you've been following the show, right, Harry? You kind of know where we're at right now.
Well, I have been following it a little bit, and hello. Unfortunately, I did have plans, but I decided to work extra because I'm an idiot. So I have
money's money, man.
It is money. It is good. But I do want to say something. I am not a fan of Braun Strowman.
That's what I was trying to stick up for you on that.
He said that.
No, I don't think he likes the Braun Strowman part. I think he likes the Bray Wyatt.
He likes the Fiend. Anything with the Fiend.
Well, let me bring you up to speed, Havoc, real quick. I made a comparison of Braun Strowman, his personality, to a shoe. I now want to formally apologize to shoes everywhere because Braun Strowman is now rice cake level.
Rice cake.
Rice cake. I've never seen a rice cake flip over an ambulance, though.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. He's a pretty strong rice cake.
That's fine. But I've heard him talk for 2 weeks in a row. And I'm sorry. He needs to shut up. He needs to stop.
Yeah, but he's turning heel. That's your thing.
He is, but he's making me look bad, and I don't appreciate that.
Making you look bad. Making you.
Yeah,
because there's a man that says you can solve everything with a heel turn, and Braun Strowman is now going to prove that no, you can't.
No, what Braun Strowman is going to prove is that there's a reason why he wasn't talking before, because even his intense promos as his heel that he's trying to go on, it just comes off so terrible.
And I think it goes back to what, Havoc and we were talking about earlier, is that everybody is so over-scripted. Nobody is allowed to be themselves, and nobody is allowed to come up with what feels real to them. I mean, they're reading a script, and they're not actors. They're not trained actors. They're not. Some people are good at it, and most people are just Braun Strowman.
Well, here's my problem. I think with him, less is more. If he was to do what he's did the past 2 weeks, just less of it and more to the point, I think it goes way far. Like he was just trying to go too much with his promos and too far.
I think if he grabbed the side of the performance center and actually flipped the performance center It could really turn the company upside down.
Well, let me tell you something. I'll tell you, this whole PG era, I think it's officially finished. I think PG is done with WWE.
They've still got too many. They've got too many deals with like Mattel and stuff like that weren't PG for them though.
But did you watch SmackDown? Did you see highlights at least?
I read a report.
Okay. In the report, he literally picks up Alexa Bliss and throws her.
Chucks her 10 feet in the air.
That is not PG.
That is not.
But, you know, I think this goes back to the fact that intergender wrestling is so popular right now.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
And look, in 1995, when Tommy Dreamer took Francine upside down and everything, pile driver.
Yeah.
That was just so wow, you know. And then when Raven kicked Eula and gave her the DDT, it was another wow, you know. You don't have that anymore, you know. And now you see a lot of intergender matches, especially on the indies. Stan Styles is his own intergender bonanza, you know. It's over diluted it, I believe. So the WWE's real late to the dance, even doing intergender stuff. You know, it's been happening for at least the last 3 years, very, very consistently.
And I mean, you talk about with Francine and stuff, and I mean, that was not quite intergender. That was still back to the old logic of like, beat up the asshole manager. But like you say, it's shocking because it's a case of the asshole manager is a woman and you have an athletic guy and just drops her on her head. So there's a little bit of the like, whoa, shit, they can do that? That's a thing they're allowed to do?
Sherry did it all the time, and there was no bigger pop than when somebody got their hands on Sensational Sherry. That was just because she was such a hindrance outside of the ring, you know. And so I mean, I think ECW took it that next step though. You know, it was more than just getting the hands on that asshole manager. It was, oh my God, did he break her neck? You know. Yeah. And then I think that plateaued with, you know, the Mae Young getting Dudley bombed through a table. You know, I think that's kind of what all that plateaued, and then you really stopped seeing that in the mainstream until, you know, I think China was probably a little bit after that. But once China was gone, that was it.
The Dragon Ball poster is not mine. I am in my son's room. And that's my son with the comment right there.
You can take
credit Dragon Ball.
You can take credit for having something cool around you every once in a while.
This comment's from I'm pretty sure it's my cousin Kyle because he doesn't know how to use Facebook. I don't know. Mattel, you're telling me you didn't see the new toy, the eye popping Rey Mysterios?
That's good.
With high flying octane action, and it's a choking hazard, so please be careful.
I didn't watch that match. I'm pretty soon thinking though I should find enough liquor one night and try, because someone told me that to achieve that effect, they got a ping pong ball and they just took like a red Sharpie. And
I want to know how they did the fake Seth Rollins puking, or did he actually puke?
No, that was real.
He actually threw up.
Yeah.
Mal, did you see that? Did you see that at all?
I watched some highlights from it. Just the highlights. It was just.
Yeah. You're like, what's going on?
There were so many creative ways. Why did it have to be on the corner of steps? Like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't. I mean,
you're $1 billion
like, so sick. I couldn't, because like, you have the ability to pre-record something and make it real theatrical, and you can watch a horror movie and somebody. Not that I want to advocate, hey, let's pop out somebody's eyeball for wrestling. Right. But you know, if you're gonna do it right. You know, not whatever that was. I know we did a spot with one of the Recruit Warriors, Jeff Thomas. I don't know if you know him, but he's only got one eye. And so he has his eye patch, and I think it was like a candy eyeball that they stuck in there. And the Violator went and ripped the candy eyeball out and then ate it, you know? Which was a lot more creative than what happened with that Rey Mysterio thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the point before we were saying about exposing us now to this indie scene, this show, and meeting all you guys. I want to see more of that stuff. Like, I want to see more of the creative, flowing going around, because, other than just watching everything that, Vince puts on our plate.
Because it's so recycled.
What?
It's so recycled, and when he's not recycling, he's doing bad ideas like that. I mean, like you said, Mal, it's a global company. You pre-recorded it.
It was Alan that said that, not Kyle.
That was a good one, bud. That was a good one.
That was great. That's my son, Mal.
And that'll be the what do they call them? What are the deluxe ones called? The defining moment statues.
Oh yeah, the defining moments. Yeah. Get like a battle.
That could be the worst defining.
You see that collection behind Keith right now? He's already got it. He's just not telling you that he's got it already.
Just because I am pretty close to the trucks at Walmart every once in a while. It's a battle pack. You have Rey Mysterio with the pop out eye accessory, and then Seth Rollins with the projectile vomiting comes with it.
All right, so I mean,
the moment.
I got a question
for the next hottest Funko Pop idea.
I got a question for the whole panel, and it has to do with the fact that the WWE is venturing out of the PC. How do you guys feel about that? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Are we going to have a problem with this, or is it going to be like, hey, look, WWE's doing this, maybe we can too? That side tells it all, brother.
It's so because the me in me wants to say this is all stupid. Let's just do this,
right?
People can be adults and behave themselves responsibly if necessary. Mm-hmm. So why not? I seen in England they set up for a concert where everybody they sold platforms.
They put platforms. Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
Nothing good is coming of this, nothing good is coming. So I mean, it's so hard for me to not just go on a rant right now.
Go on a rant? By all means, go on a rant.
Stop the madness. Okay, so I'm gonna do it. Fine.
Go ahead.
I don't. Anybody who follows me out there, I'm not a big fan of the masks.
Yeah.
Whether it's for the fact that most of them are stretchy material like this,
right,
that don't actually block anything, or the fact that, like I said, I have sports asthma, so anything to exert any oxygen out of my face when I'm exerting energy, really just it makes it tenfold. So the insanity to me is the fact that I can get kicked out of the store because I won't wear a mask. But if I go into a store with this bad boy here on, with all the holes in the mouth, nobody says a damn thing.
Nothing.
Which shows you it's not about protection, it's about compliance. It's about being obedient. Because this is not stopping anything.
No.
And I tried so hard not to make this political, but damn it, it's so hard for me. and I use the word political in the wrong term because this is not political.
Right.
This is compliance or non-compliance.
Right.
And that's what we're really seeing here is how compliant are you? How obedient can you be? And I heard yesterday, damn it, I really wasn't trying to bring any presidential candidates into this thing. But Biden is suggesting that all governors make it 3 months mandatory. Everybody must wear a mask if they leave their home. Right. When does this ever stop? Because we were told it was only 14 days.
Yep.
And then it was only wear a mask. And then it was, we're color coding things. And then we're coming out of color zones. Then we're going back into color zones. And, I need a political podcast to really get into all this. But, it's funny because we see what they tell us. We see what they want us to know. And Is there a day? Here we come full circle right to the beginning of the show. They live.
Yeah.
They do live. There is a day. They control what we see. They control what we consume. There's 6 corporations that control 90% of all the media that you consume.
Yep.
And that includes your social medias. So 6 corporations can control all the news and all your social media companies. It kind of speaks for itself.
Yep.
We only know what those six entities agree that we know. I didn't want to do that, Brad. I didn't want to, but we keep talking about the
I
damn
get it.
thing.
I brought it up because it's interesting to me. It's interesting to me that WWE has lived in this bubble. It seemed like they were doing it right. They cut the roster in half. They lived in this bubble where all the wrestlers are in the living together basically, and then doing tapings at the Performance Center. It was working to keep having putting out shows on USA Network and Fox. So to me, they were living up to their end. They were putting shows out there. Maybe it's not the best shows, but they were putting shows out there.
Well, it's definitely not the best shows. Definitely.
And then moving out of the PC, and they're going to Orlando or something. And I mean, they're even talking about maybe having some fans. I mean, it just I don't know how to feel about it, to be honest with you, because I'm like everybody else. I don't know how to feel about this. I'm just trying to be compliant. I'm just trying to, do my job, do my part. And then but the fan in me wants there to be a damn vaccine so I can get back to going to freaking Phillies games and Eagles games and live events without worrying about anything.
There we go back to the day. You see who gets to go to those things, right?
Yeah.
The essential people get to do it. So you're being trained to believe that you're not essential. Dr. Fauci can go to the Washington game. He can take his wife and he can have his friend there and he can sit in the stands with his mask like this.
Yes.
But don't you dare do it because you're not essential. And from day one of this, it's all the heroes on the front line. Oh, well, the heroes act. Heroes. And everything's been about how great these heroes are. It's people doing their everyday job. I drive a taxi. I had a few weeks downtime.
I had none.
But
I've been working. Keith's been working the whole time. Harry's been working the whole time. So have I.
I'm retail shipping.
We're essential.
Yeah, and being essential, how many additional hundreds of dollars did you get for doing nothing? While those who were non-essential showed how non-essential they were, they stayed home. Unemployed, not by their own choice, of course. Nobody went unemployed by their own choice, but then we're getting, $600. Oh, well, we need to extend that further. We got to do 400, blah, blah, blah. Reopen the damn country. I was trying to avoid this. I know.
I'll get rid of it. Jerry Jones is talking about letting 25% of the capacity for Cowboys games, and certain states have certain rules versus others. And the big debate now is that fair to other teams like, say, the Eagles, who Pennsylvania is not allowing any fans to their games?
Life's not fair.
No, I'm saying that's the debate. That's not my opinion.
I know. I'm just saying that's my answer to that debate. Life's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Well, right. Exactly.
What it's going to take is somebody just saying, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. I now refuse to participate in your exercise, and I'm no longer going to be a part of it. And that's, I delved into many different things. Of course, wrestling's only just a part of it. And I bought a media domain, and we're currently doing undercover videos to try to expose these type of things that are going on that are fallacies to their official statements or that are contradictory to the official stories. So, we picked up a couple pairs of the glasses with the cameras built into them, and we're trying to gather instances where people are being discriminated against because of the mask policies, whether they have a disability or not, or we're doing this through underground newssyndicate.com. That's a domain that we had picked up here at the beginning of last month to start trying to cover these different protests and events around the country. Because none of this is making sense. So the only thing we can do as citizens is go out there and get into it, find out really what's going on. What is, I'm out traveling the East Coast all the time. Life's going on as normal. It's just some stores are shut, and it's real selective on what stores are shut. That's the damn shame of it. And Walmart can thrive, but like Tom's Hardware had to shut down for all those weeks and almost go out of business because, their 30 customers a day were more of a threat than 1,000 customers at Walmart. How does that make sense?
Yeah.
So not complying is the only answer. So if Jerry Jones wants to have 100% capacity, do it. If people feel safe doing it, have them sign a waiver going through the gate, or have that as part of the disclaimer. You come at your own risk. I go to a haunted house. That's the disclaimer that's posted right there. You go at your own risk. If you have a heart issue and you come in here and you have a heart attack because it scares you, you did that at your own risk.
Right.
So as adults, how have we gotten to a place in a world where we're asking for permissions for everything? Last I checked, we don't live in a world with permissions. We live in one of the only countries that are supposed to be free. And we're seeing that getting choked out a lot.
And I imagine, just to go back to wrestling, what the original topic was.
Yes.
I imagine something similar is gonna be here. Because I think it's the Amway Center they're going to. I think they're talking about there is going to be a 25% capacity or something like that. There'll probably be piped in crowd noise and stuff like that they need, because they have to do something. Shooting in the warehouse for 3 months has not worked. It hasn't worked. It's definitely been a detriment to the shows. They had the dead silence, and the dead silence drove everybody nuts, because wrestling needs that audience. They need the crowd reaction. The wrestlers need it. They need to hear it. We need to hear it on TV. It's part of it. It's part of the ambiance. You need it. And they tried the AEW model, which was working for a little while, and now I think even that's starting to be strained a little bit on their end of, bringing the talent and let the talent boo and cheer and all of that. So, we do have to do something. We do have to try to get back to normal, and they have to try to get those ratings up, because, Raw is like almost every week now setting a new record for the lowest ratings of the modern era, or the lowest ratings of all time, or, the lowest ratings of whatever. They have to do something, and they do have to kind of, like I say, push it as far as they're allowed to push it. Vince has friends in very, very high places. Huge friends. Huge. So I don't think he's going to get in trouble as much as, somebody who doesn't have those kind of particular friends is going to.
Yes.
We'll have to see what they do. We'll have to see where it works out. But, I agree with Mal. At some point, it does become, you're an adult. It's going to be a risk to go out of your house, and just go to a store with the current climate of things. And sometimes that may be what it comes down to, is that it's not feasible to test everybody walking in the door. And it just becomes, look, be safe, be smart. And at the end of the day, if you get sick, you came in here knowing that was a risk.
Air.
Yeah, that's all I had on that.
Gotcha.
I had to shake the head in agreement. You couldn't hear the rocks rattling around. I heard them.
I heard it. Harry, you got something? You've been quiet over there, buddy.
Well, all I know is that they're planning big entrances because there's more room, so there's more pyro. My thought is this is one of their, I guess at one point was their big pay-per-views of the year. So when you have what is supposed to be big matches, you want to have the big spectacular entrances and all that bullshit that comes with it. And let's be real. Like Keith says, it suffers when no one's cheering you and all that stuff, and ratings have been down, and there is literally like 3 stories that are probably driving the whole company.
Yeah.
And without a big spectacular entrance from The Fiend and from Braun, aka Rice Cake.
Wow. You know, you're lucky that guy does not see this show. You know what I'm saying? Although I did send it to his Twitter.
Listen, I'm sure he can see it, and I'm sure he understands that, you know, it's okay. There's flavors to rice cakes. It's all right. It's not a big deal. But like, you need something to not spark, but maybe give a little push for people to give a damn about all this. Because, and I don't know how you guys feel about this whole Seth Rollins thing. I know you guys mentioned the eye thing, which is, trust me, ridiculous. But I think if there was a crowd when he was doing all this, he would get so much more heat and it would be so much better. But you're going to get reactions from like 5 people and they bang on glass and we're supposed to think it's okay. And, you know, that's heat and all that stuff. But if there was a crowd, I think this angle would get so much more attention. You know, and there's so many things that can be escalated just by the average person that pays their ticket booing or reacting. You can pan to somebody with a facial expression. You know, now you're just getting a bunch of people with masks on that are banging on the glass and, you know, trying to make as much noise as possible.
Right.
So, I mean, is it safe? Absolutely not. Do I think that the average American doesn't give a shit about other people's safety? No. Do I think that people are being safe? Some are, some aren't. I mean, I deal with it every day. I have customers that some of them are cautious. They put the mask on. They keep their distance. And some of them try to get in my face like they're my best friend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you need to back up, you know, like, I mean, so there are people on both sides of the spectrum, but at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is, you know, and would I love to go see the Cowboys kick ass against the Eagles and against the Giants and all that stuff? Absolutely. But you know what? Until I'm able to go, I'm not going to go. But the moment someone says I can go, you damn best, I'm going to get my ticket and I'm going to go watch a game. At whatever capacity, you know. It's just, unfortunately, the society is, it is what it is. And when, you know, governors and whoever elected officials decide to change that, then, you know, that's when society can get back to whatever would be normal.
Well, I think if nothing else, the one positive thing we got out of this is that I no longer have drunk people invading my personal space. So, you know, that's one thing that we all have to be thankful for, that, you know, people are a little bit more observant of that. But yeah, you still get the few people that do come a little close and like,
Yeah, yep, I deal with that too.
That COVID, right?
Hi, Montana.
We killed their phone battery.
I mean, we're doing something right.
She's down in Florida. She's down in Florida. They don't know how to charge phones down there. You know what I mean?
And Florida, and everyone in Florida.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Montana. I know you're not down in Florida. We've been ripping on Florida all night.
I've been ripping on Florida.
Oh, well, no. Well,
if I was ripping on Florida, you would know.
Yeah,
that's where I feel Mal's pain on the whole, like, trying not to be political on political conversation.
All right. So speaking of our friends at Clockwatch, Montana's one of them. You can see on Sunday. Tune in to Clockwatch Sunday at 9. Power P Monday at 9. Clockwatch again is on Tuesday at 9, and my brother TJ Spitter with his new show on Wednesday at 12. Spitting with Spitter. He was on our show last week, Keats. Remember? I tell you, we had a ball with TJ, and TJ's new show. It's not just about hip hop, man. He's gonna have a mafia enforcer on Wednesday, a former enforcer for local. Yeah, I'm not kidding. And he's got lots of guests lined up that you would not believe. I mean, like famous people. I'm serious. Famous people he's got lined up. So tune into that Wednesday at noon, and tune into Clock Watch tomorrow night at 9. Tune into Power P Monday night at 9. And now that we got that out of the way, Mr. Havoc, I want to thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Right now, all we have from out of you is video. We can only hear you, and it's been like that for some time. But we usually wrap this up around the 90-minute mark. But I mean, I could talk to you all night, man. It was a great conversation. Great conversation. And I hope we have you on again. And I hope that you have continued success in everything you do. And as soon as we know when you're performing again, I guarantee you, if not one of us, some of us will come see you perform for sure.
Excellent, brother. Definitely appreciate you. And let's see here.
Yep. Thanks, man. Thanks a lot. So you guys know that we do that. The last thing we do in every show is heel turn corner, Harry, and you know that. But since you weren't on the entire show, I was going to I had a substitute. I had a substitute thing lined up, and I hope he has something ready, because if he doesn't, this is going to look really stupid. So, without further ado, once in a while, I'm going to pull this rabbit out of the hat, and we're going to call it the Professor's Perspective. And I'm going to give you a minute or two to rant on anything you freaking want. Just go at. We can comment afterwards, but we're going to shut up and we're going to give you the floor. And if you got something to rant about as far as pro wrestling go ahead.
Oh, I always have something to rant about. Almost.
No.
So this is going to be almost part one in probably a series, because it's so many little things. And I know you guys mostly don't agree with me, which is part of why this has to be a series, because I have to lay out all my evidence. And the series is called NXT As We Know It Is Dead.
Oh, God.
It's going away. You're supposed to shut up until I'm done.
Yes. Go ahead.
And, yeah. So, the first thing that drives me nuts about NXT right now is I absolutely positively hate the way they've dealt with this whole North American title situation. I understand they booked themselves into a corner where they didn't necessarily want Keith Lee to lose it in the center of the ring, although I think you could have done that and it would have saved me so many weeks of pain. I also understand their perspective of, tournaments don't draw. Well, you're not drawing shit right now because you're not allowed to have anybody in the building. So do a tournament. Maybe get some people over, but no, we have to do a bunch of three-ways that qualifies 4 guys for a ladder match. And then, but now somebody got hurt, which I think actually is going to help Dexter Lumis in the long run, because there's no way he was going to win that ladder match. And I don't think he needs to be in a car accident match like that, which is what these ladder matches always are. Now we have to have a match among the losers, because they had a legitimate point that they weren't pinned. I'm sorry, I thought the rules of the match were if you weren't the guy getting the pin, you lost, and you just kind of accepted that. I guess we don't do that now. So the whole concept is flawed. It's overly and needlessly complicated, and it just goes to show that Vince McMahon being cooped up in the Performance Center and all the shows under the same roof means he can't not meddle. And now NXT before, when it was safely in the warehouse, when it was safely at Full Sail in Florida and Vince wasn't there, that protected them. Now Vince is there. He's watching it every week, and slowly but surely, he is getting his craptacular influence in there. So that's my rant. That's part one of NXT As We Know It Is Dead. And the Adam Cole angle sucked. And probably next time I'll dissect that because, hey, bonus, I'll probably have whatever that abortion of a match that is going to happen on next Saturday, is going to look like.
All right, Harry has left us. I'm not sure. I see nothing on his screen.
I think I may have pushed him finally too far. Because for the viewers that don't know, there is like a chat we have that we're in almost every day.
Every day.
So he's had to hear this a couple of times already.
He does, and he feels, and I'm sure he'll come on and say this. He feels the exact opposite. As for my take on what you just said, I tend to agree with you a little bit. I don't agree with the entire thing, but I do agree with you a little bit. I do agree with the Adam Cole thing. How does Adam Cole go from world heavyweight champion to this? That's my thing. You know what I mean?
Knocked out dead by a football player, and I mean dead. Knocked out dead for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and he's the baby face now. He's the baby face.
Right.
The football guy is the heel.
Right.
What the fuck? Where are we?
I don't know because Adam Cole is such a better heel, and you know that.
Yeah.
And Keith, Harry, you should be upset. You should be irate that Adam Cole turned face. I mean, come on, right? Are you?
No.
Your turn. Go ahead.
Let's be real here. Slowly, Adam Cole has been getting way more cheers than boos.
That's smart, Marks, though.
No. What that is, I mean, listen, it happens. It happens to guys. Over time, they're supposed to be the heels, but people like them so much that they start cheering them.
But NXT also has the ECW effect where, like, the arena, they have that one building that they run in every so many weeks. So people see the guys all the time, and they tend to be the internet savvy fans. And that was always my only argument with ECW too, is that, like, if you're doing it kind of in a vacuum and in a fishbowl, but my problem isn't turning Adam Cole face or any of that, is that the football guy out of nowhere is being the heel and treating Adam Cole like the dickhead. Adam Cole still has his group who are definitely heels, definitely still dickheads. Like, this isn't even a and the other thing too is I don't think this is going to be a full-on face turn for him. I think this is just going to be like the football the football fuck wanted to come in and he wanted to play wrestling heel, and because they're so obsessed with football fucks and real athletes and so demeaning of the wrestlers and their people that work there every day, they just said, "Oh, whatever you want." What's his name again? I don't even remember. The guy
McAfee.
Yeah, and he played for like Indianapolis for like 2 minutes
for a cup of coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, now he's a star. Nice.
No.
Go ahead, Harry.
First of all, no, he was with Indianapolis for like a decade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes, he was. Allen actually was. He was their punter for like a decade.
That's a tough guy, punter.
Listen, all right. It's a terrible idea. Not going to say it's a good idea.
That's okay.
But what I'm going to say is it gets exposure. It gets people talking. And that's the only point.
Which people has ESPN picked it up? I haven't heard of ESPN or anybody saying shit about this angle. And that's usually why you do it, to get the mainstream media talking.
Yeah, but it's not getting the buzz probably they wanted. But that was the idea. Because he works for college football. Like, he is a big college football person. He has a radio show or a podcast or whatever people have these days. And that was the point. It is a terrible idea. It is stupid.
And the execution is horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
But, I mean, it gets some buzz. Not as much buzz as they probably wanted, but some buzz.
But my point is, what outlets do you see talking about it? I haven't seen any outlet talking about it.
WWE.
Not consistent. I saw a couple of things like 2 or 3 days after people were still talking about it, but nothing consistent. I mean, the only thing you do with Adam Cole, I think now, even before, this punter thing was you got to move him up. Like I don't see a reason for him to be there anymore.
He can want to get his title back.
Yeah, but that's a great idea. But all right, so what are you going to do? That maybe one takeover?
I don't think he wants to move up.
No.
My whole point though, and this is the thing, is that it can't be NXT is just where you move up. Because if you look at it now, I think that's part of what stops NXT from really growing the audience at all. Because you move a bunch of people out, and they've moved a bunch of people out since it's been on USA, and you get connected to guys, and then they go away. I also resent this idea that you win the NXT title once, and then, oh, you've done everything you can do in NXT. Well, when that was developmental and the whole point was to get you to Raw or SmackDown, yeah, that made sense. But now you're trying to tell me that this is a third brand co-equal to Raw and SmackDown, that I should care about it in the way I care about Raw and SmackDown, then it shouldn't be I win the NXT title and then I go to the other shows. Because nobody sits there and is going to say about Braun Strowman when he ultimately loses the WWE title, oh, I guess Braun Strowman's going to go to NXT now. Or I guess Braun Strowman's got to go to Raw now because he's done everything he can do on SmackDown. He was the world champion once, right? So that's everything he could possibly do on SmackDown. So I guess he's got to go somewhere else.
No, but I mean, let's agree on something. The Undisputed Era and Adam Cole have dominated like close to a year of NXT.
It's more like 2, almost 3 now,
Okay.
I think.
So let me ask you,
2 War Games.
what more can Adam Cole do personally in NXT?
He could win the NXT title back. He could go after the North American title. You could spin him off from Undisputed Era. He could go get a partner and go get a tag team. I mean, Adam Cole's not limited by anything except the people that are in creative in NXT. He's only limited by what they can come up with for him. Huh?
So Adam Cole with somebody else would work?
It depends on who the somebody is.
Yeah, like what if you use Adam Cole to like
and I'm not even saying you have to go down that road with him.
To boost up Loomis or somebody. Like, what if you put him in a program with somebody like Loomis or somebody that's up and that? No,
he was champion for like 300 days or 700 days or whatever it was, but then you're going to downgrade him to North American title, and then you're going to go, okay, well, why don't you put somebody over when he's not at that stage?
That's what they do. What do you want him to do? Like, what do you want out of him? That's what they do. He's been on top, like Keith said, for 3 years.
If he goes up just to go up, like so many of them do, what are they going to do with him? Because right now, moving anybody around, and I've heard today, Tony Khan said it about AEW, and I agree with him 100%, is they're grappling with even doing major title changes over there now. And debuting anybody and doing anything because you don't have an audience, the ratings are down. You've got these you've got that card to play. Ultimately, hey, Adam Cole comes up to Raw or SmackDown or whatever, or maybe he comes up with the whole Undisputed Era all together as a package, and boom, isn't that great? But then you got to ask yourself, do I really want to do that right now when nobody's watching it, when the impact is going to be diluted? And that's one of the problems, and to me, that's one of the arguments to leave people where they are and really use it as an exercise, too, for your goddamn writers who are fucking pathetic for the most part, and make them work with a set roster and say, you have to, every week, have something for these guys to do and make them not crap. And if you can't do that, guess who's getting fired? Which would happen in a normal company.
But here's the thing, though. When you have 2 hours once a week, with the roster NXT has, it is far more difficult to get over people with the talent that you have as opposed to Raw and SmackDown. Raw is 3 hours. You can cross-brand with Raw and SmackDown. And there's not a lot of people, and this is what's sad, on Raw and SmackDown that people really want to see other than the main 5 or 6 people.
But they've tried the argument you're making here of inject the top star from NXT, and what usually happens? The top star from NXT stops being a top star. because the writing team doesn't know how to nurture them or build them up. And they also tend to forget whatever they did in NXT. They'll go, oh, you know this person from NXT. And now they are going to be completely different.
But I think there's one person that should move up, and one person only, and that's Adam Cole. I am completely okay with everybody else staying down until this is over.
Yeah, I disagree. I think they need Adam Cole more than ever right now.
I think that Adam Cole is going to partially be in control of what he does, only to the extent of it's quite clear that a lot of fans and a lot of people around him think that that at any moment now when his contract is up, he's going to go to AEW because he has friends there. His girlfriend works there. And I think that's their worry. So in my opinion, the way they book Adam Cole, they're going to take his 2 cents. They might not go with everything he says, but if Adam Cole wants to stay in NXT, he'll stay in NXT.
I don't think they're that worried about it because what they feel like at this point
they can't let him go, Keith. They can't let him go.
Well, he's an independent contractor. At the end of the day, if they want to give him, $2 million and creative control and hot and cold running sex acts or whatever, and he says, nah, I think I'd be happier in AEW. Yeah, they won't give me all the bells and whistles you're giving me. They want to give me just $3 million and a $1,000 signing bonus, but it's not about the money to me. It's about being with my girl and being able, have the new opportunities and new opponents.
Yep.
And I mean, it could happen. It might not happen. It depends on what Adam Cole's priorities are, which I don't pretend to know because I don't know the guy.
I don't know the guy either.
But I just feel like right now there's not really that incentive to move him up. And if you're not going to move him up and have a prominent position open for him, which right now everything's locked in until at least you would figure at least SummerSlam, and then I think they have a pay-per-view like the week after. So we're gonna have 2 SummerSlams this year, kids.
Yeah,
no way they can book a whole new card in a week.
They're 2 weeks apart. They're 2 weeks. They're 2 weeks apart.
Yeah, so you're gonna change like 1 or 2 matches.
Huh?
The week after.
Yeah, so like I say, you're gonna change maybe 1 or 2 things on the undercard, but you're gonna have a lot of fuck finishes in your major title matches, which is going to make everybody so happy. So you can go ahead and have this other show, later on. It's like this Tuesday in Texas didn't teach them shit.
I
remember that.
Well, let me get back to what you guys were saying before with Keith, with the North American title. I know you're not a fan.
No.
But let me. All right. So the problem that Brickhouse had and a lot of people have is there's no new talent getting, over and, stuff like that. But there is not one big name. Well, I mean, maybe Damian Priest. I don't know if you would consider him big name. But a lot of the guys in this ladder match.
Now, yeah.
But a lot of these guys.
He should be there.
But a lot of the NXT guys in this ladder match were like middle of the road. Don't know what to do with you. A lot of talent, but no place for you type people.
And they'll still be there when they don't win the ladder match.
Listen, Bronson Reed, I mean, I'm not a fan, but he's talented, I guess.
I like him. I do like him.
And then you have Cameron Grimes, who I would like to think that has no direction, but is good to watch, and he plays a character very well.
Mm-hmm.
You got Damian Priest, who I think we all can agree is just world champion waiting to happen.
Yeah, I think he should win.
And then you have you're gonna get Balor and I think it's Balor and that UK guy. Crap. Who's that UK guy that they compare to Lesnar? What the fuck's his name?
Oh, that just debuted.
Yeah, they're gonna wrestle for whoever can get in the match.
I know what you mean. He has a dumbass, forgettable name. I mean, they almost all have
Ridge.
dumbass, forgettable names, but he really,
Ridge something.
it's like Ridge Holland, I think it is.
Yeah, Ridge Holland. There you go.
Yeah, because we have to name
Holland.
him after, a mountain range,
And
not give him a real human name.
I don't think they're gonna put like the main guys in it. I think they're gonna take the main guys and get the other guys over in a way to put them in the ladder match. And you're gonna get a North American title that nobody's gonna really know a lot about, but it's gonna showcase everybody in the title match. Good or bad, Keith, it's still gonna show you who they are and what they're doing and their abilities. And it could be a stepping stone, like the IC title was, to the heavyweight title.
I have no problem with what they're going to do with the North American title after the ladder match. What I'm saying is the triple threat concept has one winner and two losers. The ladder match has one winner and three losers. And because it's a multi-man ladder match, that means it's going to be a car accident. It's going to be guys falling off the ladder, falling into ladders, draped across the apron. Nobody gets over in these things. If they had a standard-ass tournament like you usually do, you could showcase guys, even guys that lost would have had a good showcase for themselves. You could have maybe done interference that made sense, so you could create feuds out of it and spin things off. I understand that when we get to the end of it, the good booking will probably take back over again. Please, God, please. And then you'll see people, Vince's fingers are in this pie. They're very much in this pie now.
They are, yeah. I agree with that completely, and it's not good.
No. So I understand, like, when we get to the end of the thing I hate, we're probably going to get back to more of the stuff I like. But I just don't see a defensible way to say, like, what's happened so far has done anything for anybody, especially because they made Regal look like a dumbass now. Because now Regal, who used to be, Mr. Fair and by the rules and stuff like that, is now running around saying, like, well, these heels that understood that we had a triple... I can't do a British accent, so I stop even trying. Yeah. These heels that understood, that you lose a triple threat match, you lose, have a valid point because they weren't the guy that got pinned.
Yes.
Well, fuck you. You understood that it was sudden death and, you could lose without being in the pinfall. We've never had to relitigate that in the history of ever. But because Dexter Lumis got pinned and the roster's thin, we're now going to say this dumb thing that in a normal creative situation would be precedent, but because it's WWE, we're never going to mention it again because we only needed it right now to get out of this piece of plot convenience, which is another example of, again, Vince's fingers are in this pie.
So the cool thing is that next week we're gonna have TakeOver to talk about, like next Saturday, because it's next Saturday. So
here's my question, Keith. I mean, do you realistically think that you could have done this tournament in the time span and got the same amount of guys in it? Like, could the tournament be big enough to still showcase one-on-one and get the same amount of talent in the short time span that they had?
Yeah, because again, I control it. I'm in control. I manipulate everything. I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have a sanctioning body. I figure out who I want to ultimately win it, and I work backwards, which is logically how you're supposed to do it. And along the way, I put guys that I want to make matter into these prelim matches. Why does Johnny Gargano and Roderick Strong have to be in the same match? Why don't we just take one person for Gargano, one person for Strong? Why doesn't that work better?
But my only thing is I mean, you still have to worry about other stories in a 2-hour show. And if you're going to do so many tournament matches, wouldn't that take away from the stories that are like the other stories on the show?
Not necessarily, because NXT tends to do most of their show is match after match after match after match. There aren't a ton of stories that they're shooting right now. They're mostly just saying we're going to have matches and stuff is going to evolve out of that. And again, because you control it and because you book it, I expect you to be able to be a decent booker. We've had tournaments on television for things before. It's not like this is a new concept that nobody has ever tried and I'm pushing something radically new and different. This is something that's been in wrestling since ever. And I just don't understand why they did it this way. Because doing it this way is the typical, we're going to cram a bunch of people into it because we somehow think the more people you cram into it, that automatically makes it better. Not worrying about but if you cram 1 million people into something, it doesn't always get them over. The Royal Rumble is fun every year, but other than 1 or 2 guys outside of the winner, who really benefits from the Royal Rumble? It's not necessarily a way to elevate everybody. And I feel like here, if you had done more one-on-one, where you had had more creative finishes and you had more stuff that you were able to do with it, you would have gotten more out of it. I just don't agree with the triple threat concept into car accident ladder match is gonna get a bunch of people over. It's not.
All right.
Get the champion over.
All right, Harry. Speaking of 2 hours shows, we're getting close to 2 hours, so I want to wrap this up. Thanks, guys, for coming on tonight. I want everybody watching at home, please tune in tomorrow. We have Stefan Ramon and we have Mr. Ping from CCW and other independent organizations on with us tonight, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, which is our normal Sunday show. And don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, hit that bell, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And guys, we'll see you next time on Around.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you gonna do, brother? Oh yeah! Woo! What? If you smell what the rock.
You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude.